A relationship with the right referral partner could be a game changer for any B2B company. So what if you could reverse engineer these relationships at a moment's notice? Start a podcast, invite potential referral partners to be guests on your show, and grow your referral network faster than ever. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com.
You're listening to B2B Growth, a daily podcast for B2B leaders. We've interviewed names you've probably heard before, like Gary Vaynerchuk and Simon Sinek, but you've probably never heard from the majority of our guests. That's because the bulk of our interviews aren't with professional speakers and authors. Most of our guests are in the trenches leading sales and marketing teams. They're implementing strategy. They're experimenting with tactics. They're building the fastest growing B2B companies in the world. My name is James Carberry. I'm the founder of Sweetfish Media, a podcast agency for B2B brands, and I'm also one of the co-hosts of this show. When we're not interviewing sales and marketing leaders, you'll hear stories from behind the scenes of our own business. We'll share the ups and downs of our journey as we attempt to take over the world. Just kidding. Well, maybe. Let's get into the show.
Welcome back to the B2B Growth Show. I'm your host for today's episode, Sean Blackburn with Sweetfish Media. I'm joined today by Deborrah Ashley. She is the Authority Positioning Strategist and Trainer over at Thrivoo Marketing. Deborah, how are you doing today?
I am great. Thanks so much, Sean, for having me in.
Absolutely. I'm excited about our topic today. It's something that I think every single member of our audience could get a ton of value from. We're talking about how to increase organic reach on LinkedIn. And, our subtitle is Even If You Think the Algorithm is Working Against You. And we'll get into that here in a second. But if you could just give our listeners a little bit of background about yourself and what it is that you guys do at Thrivoo Marketing.
Sure. Well, my background, it started 20 plus years ago. I come from the corporate world, so I used to work in marketing and business development. I've worked for various companies in that arena. One day it got to the point, where I woke up and I thought to myself, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. I don't want to retire from anyone's company. I want to be able to help others, just like I help companies. I want to be able to help individuals to grow their business. Then I discovered this entire world online, and I immediately noticed an area where I can contribute. So I took everything that I learned over the past 20 years with marketing, traditional marketing and business development, and I learned as much as I could. It took maybe about a year for me to really figure things out with this big transition of how people operated online and how people operate offline. So it took about a year of trial and error and really messing a lot of things up before, I was able to really get to this point where I could help my clients leverage their knowledge and leverage their expertise to stand out online, to engage their target audience and fuel their growth in their business.
You're really empowering people to take their expertise and stand out. And that's what we all want to do on LinkedIn. And it's gotten trickier to do so over the past few years. What would you say is some of the overall challenges that you see for individuals to stand out on LinkedIn now as compared to maybe a couple of years ago?
I think that the biggest challenge that I'm seeing, especially for people especially for online business owners. So I work with some online business owners, and I also work with some offline companies. The biggest thing is for them having the mentality of what works on one platform, like say Facebook. Someone could be so successful on Facebook, but then they'll come on, and I've seen it happen. They come onto LinkedIn and nothing works for them. So I think it's being able to transition whether the mentality is of what works on offline or what works on Facebook or on Instagram, and realizing that LinkedIn is a completely different game to play.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's all about that organic and native content for each of the social networks. And so you mentioned that there's one strategy that you really feel like could pay dividends for people. What's that you like to talk about with your clients?
Well, the biggest strategy that I know pays a lot of dividends, especially on LinkedIn, and I'm sure you've kept up with it, but by the time this airs, I'm sure that LinkedIn Live will be available. But even leveraging video, and obviously it's not live at this point, but leveraging video on LinkedIn, and the biggest reason why I say video is a game changer for most, and this works especially for those who maybe they don't think they have a leg up on LinkedIn, and they don't know ways that they can stand out, and maybe they don't have as much credibility as others. But when you start going, using video, and when you start leveraging video, you're building more relationships because people will see you as someone who's trustworthy, because just your voice, just being able to look at your eyes, just being able to hear the passion in your voice is going to make people trust you a lot more than if they just read your content. And obviously we always talk about having the know, like, and trust factor. To me, the trust is the biggest thing, because I've done it myself and I know other people do it. We may have someone that we love their posts, we love being around them, we know them because we're interacting them on a regular basis, but maybe the question is, do I necessarily trust him or her to help my business? Do I necessarily trust them to help me get to the goal that I want to reach? So being able to go on video and share what you know, and sharing it in a way that's more, that's the most passionate to you, is really going to be the key that's going to build that trust and take you over the top.
I think that you're 100% correct. I log into LinkedIn and I see videos at the top of my feed every single time. It's rare for there not to be videos trending on my news feed. So I think that's an incredible one that people could be utilizing. You mentioned understanding LinkedIn audience versus Facebook or maybe potentially other social networking sites. What is so important about that on LinkedIn in particular, the importance of understanding your audience?
So here's an interesting thing. When I first got just online, period, I compared it to my first day, not like I remember all of this, but my first day of kindergarten, where, of course I was used to the safety of being at home with my mother. And as soon as she, walked me into class and let go of my hand, I was completely lost and didn't know who everyone was and why they were here. So it's kind of the same thing, like when you go from Facebook, and this is just mostly talking if someone's on Facebook or they typically use Instagram, whenever you go from that platform to, say, another platform like LinkedIn, it's almost like being in the new playground. So the language you're using on Facebook or Instagram is not going to be the same language on LinkedIn. And I'll give an example of that. So, we have a very big, what they call, spirituality niche and a community on Facebook. And they call it woo-woo. They talk about woo-woo and they talk about a lot of different things. They use terms that not everyone on LinkedIn would understand. So what I always say is remove any jargon that you have or that you typically use, and have conversation and speak in a way that even, say, a 6-year-old would understand. And we've heard that term before. If you can't say it in a way that's simple enough, then you don't understand it yourself enough.
In particular, I think that what we're looking for a lot of times on LinkedIn is engagement. Maybe speak to the importance of that and the audience being actually interacted with on LinkedIn. I think it's a unique thing about the platform that it is very social.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The great thing about LinkedIn that I really, really love is that there is a feeling of community, and there is a feeling of, okay, and whether you're there every single day of the week or whether you're there 3 times a day, it's almost like that friend that maybe you haven't spoken to them in a week, but as soon as you come back on the platform, that same friend, it's the same person, you feel the same way about them, and the conversation just picks up. One way, and when we talk about how to, really kind of like work the algorithm to your advantage, because when we think LinkedIn or any platform, it's all about how the algorithm views you. And this could be the algorithm, this could be an ideal client, this could be media. If they view you as relevant and if they view you as valuable, that's when your content is going to get more reach. This is something, obviously I've done research over the years and I've tested a lot of things. What I have found with the algorithm on LinkedIn, it kind of watches and waits to see how their audience reacts to your content. Typically, what will happen is over the first hour, the algorithm will determine whether it's going to continue to share your content or not. So there's 3 different things that I've found. So obviously, when someone likes your content, that doesn't take them too much work. It's just scroll and like. The algorithm will see it as valuable, but it's not going to be as valuable as if they like and comment on your post. So now you're getting more kudos or more points because someone's commenting on your post. What's really going to bring you over the top is, and we know there's the first connection people on LinkedIn. Those are the ones that you're connected with directly. You have your second connections, and they're not your second tier. They're not really your connections, but they're connected to people that they're connected to your first connections, but they're not connected to you. And then you have your third, which are they're neither. They're not connected to your first. You may just see them in your feed. So now when you have people who are part of your second tier commenting on your post, or even when you have conversations going on within your post, the algorithm is kind of saying, wow, this time this post is really valuable. People are actually having conversations with each other, so I'm going to share it with more people. Because clearly the object of any of these platforms, we think of it as a great way to build community and attract clients. But the object for them is to make money. So the longer that people are on the platform, the better for the advertisers. So that's really the simple formula that I've found.
I love that. Yeah, it's actually a good point to be even thinking about what the algorithm's goal is, which is keeping people on the site. I think that's, I had never really thought about it that way. And I think that's a fantastic thing to think about. And engaging content, things that are even like video, is going to trend better because it's more engaging, is going to keep someone there longer, right?
Exactly. And I think with the video aspect too, LinkedIn has to start getting competitive now, right? So you're trying to win as many customers or people to your platform as possible, because the more people you have who are the ideal clients of the advertisers who are potentially spending millions of dollars, the better you can leverage that and sell. So now that they're competing at this point with YouTube, and they're competing at this point with Facebook/Instagram, same platform, right? So here's another kind of tip. When you post content, if you post a link to anywhere outside of the platform in your content area, the algorithm will say, there is no way that I'm going to share this with anyone else, because I don't want people leaving the platform. So the better bet is to put it in your comments. But what I do is I actually wait till people start commenting, then I put it in my comments, because I want to be safe.
That's good. Yeah, that's probably a good idea. You also speak about in your trainings the importance of consistency. Why is consistency important on LinkedIn? I know overall why consistency in marketing is important, but in particular about the LinkedIn algorithm, what does consistency play a role with?
Well, consistency is very important, not only for the algorithm, but a potential client. I gave an example to a client of mine the other day. If we think about, say, if you're looking to attract a corporate client, they may not always be on LinkedIn, or maybe they only kind of check in once a day, and they check into, and there's stats that's been provided that says, we have these executives who check into LinkedIn once a day, possibly. They check in for resources, for new ideas about their industry, and just for guidance on how to kind of like leverage the online space. Now, if you were the one who is showing up consistently and posting daily, and they happen to check in once a day, and every time they check in, they see your content, and your content is very powerful and educational for them, they now see you as a resource. And at any given moment, they will reach out to you. And if they need something, if they need a trainer, or if they need something that you can provide to them, you're going to be the first person that they reach out to, because they see you show up every single day with the valuable content. So it only makes sense to be consistent if you're sharing valuable content. But other than that, it would just be okay.
Right. The other tactic that I know that you've mentioned is, leveraging your mailing list and your email list. How is it that you have used that tactic to get more engagement on LinkedIn?
Okay, so the strategy to leverage your mailing list is to really, obviously, and this is for someone who nurtures their list, and they send out emails to the list at least once or twice a week. So you want to have a piece of content that is a value-based piece of content. It could be a list. It could be a video. It could be, any amount of things. So what you're going to do is you're going to post that piece of content to your page. You will now email your list, knowing that everyone's not checking email at the same time, but you have an idea of when people open your content. So you will now email your list. If it's a 5-step process that you just shared on LinkedIn, you want to share maybe 2 or 3 of the steps, and then you guide them to the rest of the steps with a link to your actual post. In that piece of content that you're sharing with your list, in that email, you'll say to them, comment, and tag Let me know how you felt about this list and what was the most helpful for you. What your list will do more than strangers on LinkedIn, they're going to go ahead and follow your instructions. What they want to do is they're going to like it, and they're probably going to comment on it. Not everyone will tag, but they're going to like and they're going to comment on it. So that's going to help, obviously, to encourage the algorithm to take a better look, because now you have more people commenting on your post.
I love it. And, you had mentioned also, LinkedIn Live is either, by the time this episode goes live, it might be ready already, but at the very least, it's going to be new for a lot of people. How do you think that's going to be, something that marketers and salespeople in the B2B world can be utilizing and really helping grow their LinkedIn presence overall?
Well, I love it. And the reason that I love it is because it actually, and if you do it right, if you leverage it right, it brings out your human side. So typically sometimes there's, we already know there's two different audiences on LinkedIn as we see it right now. There's ones that only share just, information, almost like a very corporate field. And there's ones that go on the other side and they all just share just their human side, but there's nothing in between. What LinkedIn Live will do, especially for not only marketers, but your companies and your corporate types, it's going to allow people to now see you as more human. What you can do is, if you have a local networking event that you may run or that you attend, you can actually just press the live button and give them like 5 to 10 minutes of the snippets. You can, if you're an expert and you have a community, and even if you don't already have an established community, you can tell them that, hey, I'm going to go live for the next 30 minutes, drop, your questions, and I'll do a Q&A. The trick to that, though, is you don't want to wait until someone drops a question. You want to have at least 3 questions that you'll answer beforehand, because what I've noticed is no one ever wants to go first. But the Q&A is going to be a great thing. If you have a product launch, if you have a podcast and it's something that you do, whether on video or anything else, that would be a great thing to do live also. One thing that I really enjoy seeing on people's platforms is if they're going to a conference and they're in the airport or they arrive at the conference, that they'll go live and they'll share a bit of the conference, or they'll go live while they're at the airport and they'll kind of like tell us what they're doing. So those are kind of some of the ways that I think people can really win with LinkedIn Live. And this is just my guess clearly, but I think once LinkedIn really, shares this with everyone, because from what I'm hearing now, it's in beta with a few people, and then they'll have it open by application, and then obviously everyone else will get it. What LinkedIn will do, based on what Facebook has done, they're really, really going to push that live video aspect, and it's going to be algorithm friendly. So I think that's going to be the best bet for most people. For me, I don't always use video, but I'll definitely be going live at least once a week, just to get more people to see my face and hear my voice and all that wonderful stuff.
That's great. Yeah, it's exciting stuff. I'm definitely looking forward to using it. Overall, we love LinkedIn here on the B2B Growth Show. It's a primary network for us. Now, if you had any encouragement for people who might be, say discouraged or not had a lot of success on LinkedIn, maybe just talk to them about the value of really investing in this for themselves, for their own personal brand, but also for the company's brand that they work for.
Sure. Yeah, and I've had a lot of people tell me that they'll be on LinkedIn and they may like and comment, but they feel very intimidated using LinkedIn. Here's what I found out for myself, because even I felt, I've been on LinkedIn since 2007, but of course it used to be just mostly a resume and job posting site. Right. Here's what I've found, and it's going to, once it happens, it's going to change your mind completely. When you share your content, there are people, and there's groups of people, like tons of people who don't know what you already know. You have this knowledge and you have this expertise, and because it comes easy to you, you don't think that it's valuable, but you don't realize how valuable your information is until you at least take the chance and share it. Things obviously are not going to happen right away, so you want to give yourself 30 to 60 days of consistently posting, asking questions, engaging your audience. If you want to, even for the first 30 days, you want to be able to just have posts that are more information or education or entertainment posts, but at the very end, you want to have your audience answer questions from you. So that's going to be, something big that I think that will change minds for a lot of people. Also, I was reading the latest stats for LinkedIn. I know that the majority of people on LinkedIn are decision makers. So you never have to wonder, okay, who else do you have to ask? And is this going to really be the right platform for me? But it's the largest platform for B2B networking and sales that I have found, and it's the most effective, and it also shortens the sales cycle as long as you do it right.
Well, Deborah, this is a super important topic. So if anybody wants any help with their positioning or even just with LinkedIn itself, and they want to get in contact with you, what's the best way for someone to do that?
They can either find me on LinkedIn under Deborrah Ashley. I'm sure the spelling will be in the show notes, I'm sure. They can find me under Deborah Ashley on LinkedIn, or they can actually search my hashtag, which is Becoming Brand You. It sounds like becoming brand new, but becoming brand you. They can search that hashtag. And then I also want to share a gift, because before any of these things are really going to be effective for your audience, being able to have a profile that stands out is really going to be the bigger push. So all they would have to do is go to bit.ly/LinkedIn gift. And that's going to walk them through a profile that converts on LinkedIn. It's a rough overview, but it's really going to share a lot of aspects of their profiles that they should focus on before they do anything else.
I love that. Yeah, thank you so much for offering that. Guys, definitely check that out. I think that would be a great way to get started on LinkedIn, get those basics down first, and then, connect with Deborah even further. Deborah, thanks again for being on the show. We really appreciate your expertise on this.
Thanks, Sean. I really appreciate the invite.
We totally get it. We publish a ton of content on this podcast, and it can be a lot to keep up with. That's why we've started the B2B Growth Big Three, a no-fluff email that boils down our 3 biggest takeaways from an entire week of episodes. Sign up today at sweetfishmedia.com/big3. That's sweetfishmedia.com/big3.